Hi, welcome to the module Python for Data Science.
In this part of the video, we'll be implementing the topics that we studied in the previous video about the operators. So let's switch on to the Jupyter Notebook. Here, this is the notebook that I have created where we'll be implementing all the concepts that we studied in our previous video. So first of all, we'll be implementing the arithmetic operators. So let me create a markdown first. So let's start with the very simple act of addition. That is, let us look at the addition operator. Like we studied, addition operator is symbolized by the plus sign. So let's try to add two numbers, that is 3 plus 5, and it gives an 8. We can also perform subtraction, where I can subtract 46 from 54, and again I've got 8. So the next operator in line is the multiplication operator. So we can multiply two numbers, like we can simply multiply 2 with 3 to gain 6. So multiplication operator is given by this asterisk sign, like the subtraction is symbolized by the minus sign. The last arithmetic operator that we'll be studying is division. So I can see whether 35 is divided by 7 and it returns 5. Also, we studied that the return type of these arithmetic operators depend on the type of the operands. So let's see that. So for example, what if I add my birth date to my name? So my birth date is 20. Let's see what happens. As you can see that it throws an error. Can't convert int object to string implicitly. So let's try to do this explicitly. What if I, instead of adding the number, I should convert that into a string? So like if I keep this 20 within the double quotes, let's see what happens. So it produces an output Neeraj 20. So in this case, the first operand was a string and the second operand was an integer, and it threw an error. Whereas in this case, the first operand was a string and the second was a string too, and the final result was a string. So in case the output depends on the type of operands you're dealing with in the case of arithmetic operators. But it's not always that using a string and an integer with arithmetic operators is going to give you an error. So for example, let's see this case. What if I multiply my name to an integer? That's a big one. Let's take it small. So what it did is it produced an output which is my name, the number of times this number. So Neeraj, 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 Neeraj. So it actually depends on the type of the operands that you're dealing with, the operator that you're dealing with. And as you practice more, the more better you get at, and you'll find the edge cases. Next, we'll move to the second kind of operators that is studied, that is the comparison operators. So let me create a markdown first. Okay. So the first comparison operator that we are going to do is to check whether a number is greater than the other one. So for example, I can check whether 45 is greater than 34 and it should return true. So like we discussed in the previous video, these comparison operators only return Boolean values, that is true or false. So we can also check whether a particular number is less than the other or not. For example, I can check whether 56 is less than 23 and it should return false. So here we have taken simple constant values and compared these constant values. We can also take complex operand instead of a simple operand like a number. For example, I can do something like 34 multiplied by 34 again, and whether it is less than 45 multiplied by 23, and it will return you an output, and that is false in this case. You can also check whether two numbers are equal as a measure of comparison. So for example, I can check whether 45 is equal to 45. Just remember, in equal to we use a double equal to for comparing, and it returned true. So this was all about comparison operators. The last kind of operators that we are going to talk about are the logical operators. So let me create a markdown first. We studied three types of logical operators. The first one was the AND operator. We'll see a few examples of AND operator. So if you remember in the previous video what we said, in Python, AND operator takes two operand, let's say 0 and 3. It takes two operand and checks whether the first operand is false. If it is false, it returns the first operand, otherwise it returns the second operand. So in this case, 0 and 3, the first operand 0 is false, so this should return 0. But what if we do something like 3 and 0? Since the first operand here is not false, it will move to the second operand and return it, and it should return 0 in this case too. But what if we have something like 3 and 5? Let's walk through this again. The first operand is not false, therefore it moves to the second operand and returns it. So the answer should be 5. This was about the AND operators and their implementation in Python. Next, let's move to the second type of logical operators, that is the OR operator. So what OR operator does is, it takes two operand. Let's again take the above example, 0 or 3, and checks for the first true value, or in the other sense, it checks whether if the first operand is true, it returns it, otherwise it returns the last. But in this case, since the first operand is not true, it should return 3, and that is the answer. What if we write something as 3 or 0? So in this case, our first operand is true, so the OR operator should return 3, and that is true. What if we do something like 3 or 5? So in this case, since the first operand is true, it should return true. So this was about the logical operators that we studied. So now we have covered all the three kinds of operators that we studied in the previous video. The first is arithmetic operators, the second comparison operators, and third the logical operators. In the next video, we will learn about variables and different data types. Thank you.